Hi, I'm Riley.
And I'm Ryder. And this is my dad's show.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jacox with the Quarterback Dadcast. I want to say thanks to all of our listeners, thanks to all of our sponsors for all your support. We are continuing to enjoy this journey together, inspiring dads, but I want to take a minute now to talk about Acme Homes. You've heard me talk about them before, but I'm going to talk about them again. Bob Cumming, former college teammate, amazing leader, amazing home builder. They continue to take so much pride in the work they do, the craftsmanship, the attention to detail. Whether you're looking for a home up in Monroe, up in Sultan, up in Wenatchee, this is where they're doing their amazing things. So many people during the pandemic, as we have the ability to work from home, have decided to move out of the city to try to find homes where there's more acreage. Well, that's exactly what Bob and team at Acme Homes give you. So check out Valley Vista up in Monroe. Check out Daisy Meadows out in Sultan. And if you want to even go to Eastern Washington, check out Sienna Heights in Wenatchee. They're, again, amazing craftsmanship, amazing floor plans. You can visit them at acmehomeswa.com. And if you're interested in learning specifically about listings or mortgage opportunities, contact Jen at 425-308-8082 or Denise at 425-309-2318. So now, why are we doing a new ad? Because we want to talk about a partnership they have with Portage Bank. Kevin Jensen is one of the great lenders over there. He's the senior vice president. He's going to take care of you. And right now, if you obtain a mortgage through Portage Bank, Bob and team at Acme Homes are going to pay your $500 appraisal fee. I said that right. They're going to pay your $500 appraisal fee by buying a home through them, getting your mortgage through the folks at Portage Bank. So don't wait. Now's the time to contact Jen, contact Denise. Again, Jen's number is 425-308-8082. And again, Denise is at 425-309-2318.
So visit acmehomeswa.com right now to go visit and learn about your next new home.
Well, hey everybody, it's Casey Jacox again with the Quarterback Dadcast. I'm excited to have my next guest on. And before I introduce him, we are in season 3. And as a reminder, this season is dedicated to my father, the Michael Jacox, who passed away on December 29th, 2021. And it's just every time we get to talk about him and just relive his memory, I'm honored to do that. And without further ado, this next gentleman, his name is James Oliver Jr. And I met him during 2020, during when I was just starting my own entrepreneurial journey. Wasn't sure where I was going, why I was doing it, but I was connecting with people. And he is someone that definitely I enjoyed speaking with. I met him through the Shift Up folks. So shout out to you, Evan. Shout out to you, Dale Favors and Paul Howery and such. But James, what I loved about him is his grit, his resilience, his biz dev skills. He's an author of the book, The More You Hustle, the Luckier You Get. We'll hear about that. He is a founder and CEO of a new foundation called Parentpreneur. We'll hear about that. And as well as a new other startup called Kabila. But without further ado, Mr. James Oliver Jr., welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast.
My man, so glad to be here. And God bless your dad. And just so awesome to see you honoring his legacy, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and now I got your ego all jacked up, right? All that money intro with walk-up music and smoke and such. But we're here to talk about James the dad. And I remember like one of the first calls we had on Zoom. You had kids in the background and outside, and it was just a great. You were just doing your thing. I think this was right even before you. The story when reaching out to our what's his name, the Dallas Mavericks dude,
Mark Cuban. Oh yeah, that was before I started the foundation. That's right.
But before we get to that, we always start out each episode with, what are you most grateful for as a father today?
So I started listening to this interesting audio book called Conscious Parenting. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. But, in that book, she just talks about how children basically exist to help us manifest our own purposes. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for them, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have started the Parentpreneur Foundation. I feel like that's part of my purpose, like why I'm here on the planet. So I'm thankful for them. Parenting is hard. I'm a single dad, divorced, young twins. My kids are 9-year-old, #twin NATO. So I call them Zoe daddies. And I'm thankful for them, but it's hard. Like their mom's taking off for a couple of weeks, and I got the kids the next 2 weeks. So I'm like, all right, I got to make sure I get my bike rides in, keep my mental health and well-being at the forefront. Because one thing, I know it's a long answer. I'm sorry, but
it's all right. No, good, man.
I either don't talk at all. I just can't shut up. So, but one of the things from 2020, because that's what we were talking about when we met, and it's true. Because when we met, I was virtual schooling my twins. The two of them, and my daughter, she was undiagnosed ADHD, and just starting to start the foundation without any previous nonprofit experience. But anyway, I got through all that. And that's just simply God's grace. I got through all that and was very effective at it with half my brain tied behind my back. But my takeaway from 2020 was, and I'm carrying this with me every single day, is we have to have more grace, and that's more grace for other people, of course. Grace for our children. I learned that because I was virtual schooling them, and my daughter was having a really hard time every 5 minutes. Zoe, pay attention. Zoe, pay attention. Zoe, pay attention. It was really hard. And finally, grace for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a long answer to your question.
No, I talk about grace often with people who I work with in my coaching practice. Sometimes I work with younger sellers or younger leaders, and they put so much pressure on themselves to be perfect, to be elite, and they want to go. I'm like, give yourself grace. Get a little bit.
Yeah, no. So as a Black man, one of the things that I did during the pandemic, one of the things that we do. So you talked about the Parentpreneur Foundation, and I started that to empower Black parentpreneurs so they can leave a legacy for their beautiful Black children. And part of the reason I made it for Black parentpreneurs is because you look at the wealth inequality data, and we got to close the gap. And it's just really important to do that. But we pay for therapy. We've paid for 320 mental therapy sessions for the founders in our community, which is amazing because in the Black community, mental health is stigmatized and stereotyped, and we have all this trauma, that gets passed down from generation to generation. So we're actually helping to change that through the work we do in the foundation. But I go see a therapist sometimes too, and she was asking me a question. She was like, why do you go so hard? And I didn't see it that way because I'm like, just doing what I do, Mm-hmm. And then we were talking, and I told her that, growing up, and this is, I'm sure you got a bunch of Black folks listening to the sound of our voices. And when I say this, they're going to go, well, yeah, of course, right? If they're of a certain age, I guess. I don't know what younger Black people being told today, but I know growing up for me, it was always, you got to be twice and thrice as good to be considered equal. Here's the problem with that, though. You can be twice and thrice as good, and it doesn't matter. In some people's eyes, you will never be considered equal. So at the end of the day, what that does for the person carrying that burden, because, bring this back to what you were saying about the salespeople, because it's sort of similar. It just ultimately ends up being a burden, a heavy, heavy burden for the person carrying it. So I just decided to stop doing it. I don't care anymore about what other people think in that respect. I just don't, because, you show up how you show up, and somebody somewhere is going to have a problem with it regardless. So, just be yourself. You don't just, we got a no asshole rule, right? Don't be an asshole. Give first to others, and do your best, and let the chip fall where they may. So for me, ever since I stopped caring about that, it just freed me up, man. Like for my own mental well-being, it's just been so liberating. So I wish that for anybody.
That's awesome. Well, I'm gonna rewind the tape here before we get too far ahead, and I'm gonna give some gratitude. I'm gonna give gratitude to the word adversity, James, because both of my kids have experienced a little, I'd say, very first world problems, adversity, just in some sports challenges recently, and it was so fun to watch them go through it, because that's how their growth is going to happen. And it's easy to when you're making putts, you're scoring points, you're doing this, you're doing that. But when you kind of have a little punch in the gut and kind of check yourself, like, what do I need to do? And my daughter recently, we had this amazing conversation, and she has high school basketball tryouts coming up here for like the summer ball, and she's getting ready to go into high school. And we just talked about like, you work your ass off, you do all these things, but like, think about like what's important to you. What are your goals? And we talked through it more, and she realized like, maybe I need to do a little bit more. I said, it's up to you. This is your journey. I got no eligibility left. And she literally, we built a journal that she's so excited. She comes home from school and gets in the journal. She looks, okay, what's my workout today? How am I have to do? And just fun to see the evolution when you get a little adversity and then build the skill set of goal setting. And I just told her, like, whether it's basketball or freaking band or art or food, I don't care what it is. The life lesson you're learning here, of just like, I get goosebumps talking about it. It's just so rewarding to see like those things stick.
No, I think that's exactly right. And that reminds me of a really good book called Grit. I'm sure you've heard of that one.
Duckworth, yeah.
Angela Duckworth. And, she wrote that book because there's this kind of misconception in our culture here that the people who are the most successful are the most talented. Well, she discovered that it's not true. The people who are the most successful are the grittiest. And, grit being persistence and resilience. And one thing I remember from that book that she said was talent times effort equals skill, and skill times effort equals achievement. And, you talk about adversity. Like I took my kids, we had a Parentpreneur Foundation little mini impromptu out, and we went roller skating with the kids and the parents of the kids roller skating. And that was my kids' first time going roller skating. And man, they were so whiny at first, right? Because they were doing terribly. But, we got them one of those little, like a kind of a walker for roller skating.
Yeah.
And man, by the end, they were complaining, and my daughter fell and she hurt her leg and her knee and all this stuff. But by the end, man, they were killing it.
Love it.
Right? I was so happy for them that they learned that lesson that you were just talking about.
Do they still rock the snowball?
Remember the snowball?
Snowball was like, they'd slow it down. You'd find a girl and hold hands and get your dance on.
No, not the snowball. Lord. I don't know anything about it. I used to go roller skating a lot back in the day. Never heard of a snowball, bro.
Maybe that was a Seattle thing. We had the snowball. Skate King, baby.
Hilarious. I used to go to Empire Roller Disco. Do you know about that? Okay. Empire Roller.
Okay. So I want to go, we're going to talk about Parentpreneur in a little bit, but I want to hear about how James grew up. I want to hear about what was life growing up for you, and how did your parents shape you now that you're a dad?
Yeah. I grew up in not the best neighborhood. It wasn't the worst. Like, I grew up in Brooklyn. So you start talking about like Brownsville, East New York, back in the 70s and 80s, mostly in the 80s. Those are bad neighborhoods. My neighborhood wasn't that bad, but it was definitely not a good neighborhood. There's always like really bad problems like all the time. So, it's like when I mentioned a little while ago, no asshole rule, give first. So I think if I had a life do-over, it would be with a give first mindset. And I learned that from the foundation, Brad Feld, who's co-founder of Techstars, and just really amazing investor and just great human, and he's a good friend now. He gave us $50,000 a seed grant to start the Parentpreneur Foundation. And the whole Techstars thing is give first. And since I've become friends with him and David Cohn, who's the other co-founder over there, I've adopted more of a give first mindset. And it's just amazing how when you operate that way and people see you doing that, how much people end up coming to you to give to you. And as an entrepreneur, especially as like an early stage entrepreneur, you're super hustling, you're just building something new, and you're scraping and scrapping to make money. And if you got kids, trying to feed your family and all that, I think there's a tendency to feel like, I have nothing to give. But that's the absolute wrong mindset. You can give a kind word. You can share somebody's content on social media. Like, we all understand how these algorithms work, right? We know that game. They don't have to ask you, just do it. You could, make an introduction. Dale, you mentioned Dale, like Dale's a good friend. Dale's the master of that.
Mm-hmm.
Make an introduction. And you got to get out of that scarcity mentality and see that you actually have a lot to give. And when you do that, people will give more to you. And it's like I heard somebody say, you can't take out of the universe that what you do not put into it. So that would be a big change for me if I had to do over. But it doesn't matter. Like, the only thing that matters is right now, and that's what we're doing right now. In terms of like my parenting, like a lot of people, I got like the dysfunctional family situation. So like I was just talking to my girlfriend about, like, my brother and I, we don't really talk to our dad, which I can't even imagine that for my kids. First of all, I would never allow it. It would need to be a possibility. But, I was just talking to my girlfriend. I was like, well, how does that dysfunction that existed when my parents were together and then they weren't, and all the dysfunction around all that, how's that impacting like how I'm showing up as a man, as a boyfriend, as a father? Because to sit here and say it doesn't impact it, that's like incredibly naive, I think. It does, right? But, I don't. The one thing about going to talk to a therapist that is really good about that is just creates a certain level of awareness. So I like to think I'm pretty self-aware in a lot of respects.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have good people around me who'll be like, yo, like, nah, you being a total asshole right now, so knock it off. But, I don't know what all those ways are that I'm impacted by that. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Well, the give first mentality, I say something and it hit me recently. It's called having a boomerang mindset, where you serve, but you don't keep score. And when you don't keep score, I get more fulfillment. Like, I'll give an example. Story last night, and we're recording, everybody, June 1st. This episode will be out in a month or two. And I saw a gentleman I saw in the store, and we talked about his son hoping to walk on to play football somewhere. Well, it was ironically where a school where a quarterback that played after I did, Uncle Rico moment right there, who's coaching at the school. And he didn't know how to get a hold of some people to try to walk on. Well, I had a choice right there. Either I do nothing with it. I tell him I can help you out and do nothing. Or I truly believe I'm going to serve him. I'm like, hey, let me figure it out. I texted my guy, buddy. We texted all last night. Called him at 9:30. He was like, hey, everything okay? I'm like, yeah, I just want to let you know I followed up. I got 2 contacts for you. Here's who you're going to need to contact. I can't guarantee anything, but at least it gets you in the door. And he was blown away by it. To me, it was common sense. Why wouldn't I do that? But I'm more self-aware and present about serving and teaching my kids about serving, to your point, James, because it always comes back. It always comes back to you. It might not happen within a day, 2 days, but if you create that servant mindset, you're going to create more positivity.
Totally. I mean, I believe to give is to receive, right?
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned parents. Did your parents divorce when you were young?
Mm-hmm.
How old?
Well, they separated when I was 11, so shortly thereafter.
And do you have brother? You said one brother. Was any other sisters, or that
I had
one?
A brother. Then after my parents got divorced, my father had a daughter, so I have a half sister.
And what did mom and dad do growing up?
So my dad worked for MTA, Metropolitan Transit Authority. My mom worked and for the city of New York. She was a city employee.
Okay. And as you think about like growing up, like skill sets your parents had that are showing up now for you as a dad, anything come to mind?
No, man. It's just no, it wasn't anything like that. I am the second person in my family to graduate college. The first one was my aunt, who we just buried in December. But she was the first Black woman. She worked at IBM in the typewriter division. And I can remember being a kid, I would go upstairs because we all lived in this brownstone in Brooklyn. Go upstairs and she had this super dope typewriter, this electric typewriter, and I used to use that thing to type out my things for school. But she was the first Black woman manager in the IBM typewriter division. She went to Medgar Evers College in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and she finished there. And while raising 3 kids, and they were married, but then they ultimately got divorced. So she was raising 3 kids by herself. Put herself to school, and got first Black woman manager at IBM, but nobody else. That just where I grew up, like that was very unusual. So there wasn't a lot of positive role models. It's like they say you can't be what you can't see, that kind of thing, man. Unfortunately, I was always a really good student, and ended up going to Brooklyn Tech for high school. It's one of the top public high schools in Brooklyn. And from there, like the expectation was you would go to college, So I went to Morehouse College.
Morehouse, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
In Atlanta.
So where do you, tell me where the passion for education came from?
I don't know that I had a passion for education. I was just always a good student. I just, like I have ADHD, it's undiagnosed, but I, absolutely got it. I just fancy myself as a high functioning, high executing ADHD. That's kind of how I see myself. Like sometimes I just feel like I'm in the Matrix, where everything's going so fast around for a lot of people, but it's just all kind of slow for me. Yeah. But that's because my brain's moving so damn fast all the time. It's not always a good thing. I promise you. So yeah, I don't have a passion for that. I mean, I went on to get my MBA. So I don't have a passion for education, but I got an MBA from top business school. That's hilarious. But no, I don't.
Wow. So single dad, doing what you're doing. Tell me what the hardest part about that is.
The hardest part of being a single dad of twins is, the jokers, man. They're like always at each other's throats, It's just, honestly, the hardest part is like 2 people trying to talk to you at the exact same time, all the dang on time. Like I can't even think straight half the time. I'm like, guys, like one at a time, please. I can't think straight. That like literally that is the hardest part. I don't, excuse me, like their mom and I, we don't have the best co-parenting relationship. Although, at times we can't effectively do what we need to do for the children, which is at least there's that. But there's a lot of other stuff that makes it a lot harder. Mm-hmm. So that makes the journey that much more unnecessarily challenging, I think. But yeah, it's just it's not easy, and it takes a lot of capacity to be sufficiently mindful to show up as my best self for them. And for myself, it's like you have to take time to pour into yourself because you can't pour from an empty cup. That's why, like at the top, I was saying, I got to go ride my bike. Like after we get done here, I'm going to go ride my bike. I just told you I got my kids for the next 2 weeks because their mom's going on vacation. I got to make sure I'm good, right? So I can be good for them. So I can be patient with them. Mm-hmm. But those jokers always find a way to wear out the patience.
Oh, I feel you there, bro. I feel you on that one. Well, exercise is important. I don't know if I've talked to a lot of dads about that, but if there's dads listening to don't exercise, coming from what James talking about, what I experience, I exercise 5-6 days a week. Just clears the noise, clears the headspace. It gives me a new start each day to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday.
100%. Love it. Yeah, no, I love that. So I'm going to go ride my bike, come back, take a shower. I got to go to the grocery store because I got to cook. The next couple of days I'm going to cook for them. They have some dinner when they get here. That's what we do, man.
So tell me where the Twin-nado, how did that nickname get started?
I don't know. I make stuff up, man. Kind of crazy. So I think that's just something I made up one day because, when they blow through, man, there's stuff flying everywhere. You got to fasten things down like a proper tornado. I call them hashtag Twin-nado. I always post that on Twitter with like 2 little tornado emojis.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's true, bro.
back to your aunt. So first, I want to make sure I get this right because I want to give her some love in the show notes. She was the first African American or first Black manager in the typewriter division of
Black
IBM.
woman manager.
Black woman.
Yep.
And what year? Do you remember?
That was like 1980 something, like early 80s, I think. Early to mid 80s. Yeah, but she passed away. She spent, I don't know, 30, 40 years in, she was paranoid schizophrenic. So she was in a facility for a long time, and she passed away there, unfortunately.
Now, were you close with your cousins, her children?
Yeah, we were all pretty close. Yeah, we were. We still talk to them. So, obviously went up for the funeral and spent some time with them and still checking on them.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned earlier that you were the first, I want to make sure I get this right, first Black male to get college education in your family?
That I know of, yes.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jacox. I want to take a quick break to talk about my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafoods who continue to be just an amazing loyal sponsor. And for those of you who've tried it, thank you. For those of you who haven't, you're missing out. And now's the time to make sure that you visit CatchSitkaSeafoods.com and get some of those amazing smoked salmon. Get some of that amazing rockfish, blackfish, black cod, salmon, whatever it might be, whatever you like. But what's great about opportunities they have, now's the time to subscribe to a box so that you're going to get that reliable cadence of the best fish directly from the dock to the doorstep. And what's great about Catch Sitka Seafoods, they make it so easy. So those that maybe aren't the best chefs at home, doesn't matter. They're going to give you this beautiful, nice laminated recipe card that tells you exactly how long to cook it, whether you're going to barbecue, you're going to bake, you're going to fry, whatever the way you want to do it, they're going to make it easy. So please visit them today, CatchSitkaSeafoods.com. Sign up for a subscription so that you're going to get the best fish delivered directly to your door. You won't regret it. And just like my daughter Riley says, Dad, I don't even like fish. And she does now because of my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafood. So with that, let's get right back to today's episode.
That's pretty cool stuff.
Is it though? It's kind of messed up.
Well, I don't know I think, maybe that's one perspective, but I think it's like, I'd rather celebrate the positive in it,
Yeah, but we start looking at like legacy and things like that, like I would probably be further ahead. My kids would probably be further ahead if somebody a couple generations ago was the first one. You know what I mean? We got to start somewhere, but it's like I went on Ancestry.com just trying to trace my lineage. And, and this is true for a lot of Black folks. We can't go back but so far. So on my father's side, I found my great-great-grandfather, Calvin Oliver, and he was named after a slave owner. Right? He was listed in like the property section, along with two young Black children who probably weren't even his kids. They probably came over on a boat with him. It was Calvin Oliver. That wasn't his name. But the Oliver name got passed on from then, like early 1800s or whenever that was. I can't remember the date. Yeah.
Wow. See, the one thing I really appreciate, you've had a bigger impact in my life than you probably know, but like 2020 was an area that I grew personally a lot with just being comfortable talking about race relations. I've been around all different races my whole life, played with, Hawaiians, African Americans, white people, all different, but I never was consciously present to go deeper. Mm-hmm. And I think of Dale Favors, much love to Dale. Is I consider one of my best friends.
Dale's a great dude, man.
He's one of the most genuine. And you talk about networking. Have you ever been daled before? It's a verb.
Of course.
For the people who don't know what getting daled means, you're talking to Dale, he'll give you a call, and then he'll say, "Hey, hold on." And then he goes party line. He calls, and then he brings somebody into the line and goes, "Hey, you here?" And I'm like, "What? What is going on?" And he's like, "James, Dale, Casey, all right, you guys talk. I'm out." And he literally just sets up a party line without even you asking. I joked to him. I said, "You're getting called daled." And so I actually did it back to him recently and got him a speaking gig. Him and his buddy, they came out to Seattle a few months ago.
So good.
But he's just the most freaking genuine, patient, and middle-aged white dude, privileged as they come. He has been such a blessing for me. And I don't know if you remember this. I actually called you on this memory. I called you on a drive home one time and I said, one thing I need help with, I said, some of my friends of color want to be called, hey, my name's Bill or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm Black or I'm African American. I was like, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And you were so gracious about, it's like, ask them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember that, but I remember that. I remember it clear as day.
Actually, I don't remember that conversation. That's so fascinating.
Yeah, I was on I-90. I called you on the winter, and I remember, and I said, "Hey, I need your advice." And you said, you were like, "Appreciate you asking, man, but it's up to them. Ask
That's
them."
amazing. Like, I do remember you called me once, but I didn't remember that's what we talked about. It's just so amazing that was so impactful for you. You just never know how you're affecting people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool, man. But for me, like, I don't, I'm Black with capital B, but African American, I don't have a problem with that either. So
yeah. One of the things that, and one of my goals in season 3 is to bring a lot more diversity, have more diverse dads, to open up different conversations, and just get people of all different races, creeds, just to be comfortable around, being more curious, less judgmental, learning about people's backgrounds, being comfortable asking about people's backgrounds, because you're coming it from a servant's heart. You really want to learn about somebody. I can't control the past, but I can control the future. At least try to impact the future in a positive way. And one of the big goals of this podcast, James, is making sure that we as dads are attacking our gaps, leading from the front. I love that you started with service, about giving first, because we talk about that in my family all the time, about being a boomerang. And I think if we're doing that, we can hopefully chip away, because I know I'd be willing to bet you and I aren't going to solve racism while we're alive, but if we can put a dent in it, and have our kids and our kids' friends realize that this is how we're going to do it, then I've done as best I could on my time on earth. That's really my goal.
No, that's right. So, one of the things that I also did that we didn't talk about at the top was I recently started a podcast.
It's called Parents
Making Profits. And so our podcast on the HubSpot network, I actually just got an email notification here from Chartable. We started that thing 2 months ago. We're like ranked 107 now here in the U.S. and business or entrepreneurship, and 170 something globally for our podcast right now. So it's doing really well. On our first episode, we interviewed Damon John from Shark Tank, and that was an interesting conversation because Mario Armstrong, who's my co-host, he's amazing, 2-time Emmy Award winner, NBC's Today Show contributor, Never Settle TV show host. He's just freaking boss, man. He's a remarkable human and a good friend, and he's friends with Damon. So we had Damon come on to do episode 1. But the thing I loved about that episode is people got a chance to see him in the way they never get to see him. Like, he was talking about, it was just 3 dads on the episode chopping it up, talking about our kids. He was talking about being a girl dad and, maybe some of the mistakes he made or things he wish he did differently, and how he shows up for his daughters. And it was really dope, man. And, so 3 dads, and there was 3 Black dads, because, all this negative stereotype about Black fatherhood and Black fathers. And here, 3 boss ass Black dads just chopping it up and being vulnerable about that. I really appreciated that episode for that. And not just because it was Damon John. Nobody cares. I mean, well, some people care, but anyway.
What was as you think back to that episode, what was the biggest takeaway you took from that as a father?
So, we started talking about our daughters, and I talked about how I heard somebody say that, they were going to take their daughter to be the first man to take their daughter to Paris, because they wanted her experience in Paris to be with a man who truly loved her. Mm-hmm. And that really resonates with me. And that's something that I intend to do. And because, for the daughters, you're so many men, so many fathers are the first man in their daughters' lives to break their daughters' hearts, and, it just can't be that dude. Like, you just can't be that dude. Just don't be that dude, right? Mm-hmm. Don't do it, please.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure you're experiencing this with #Twinado. They're growing up too fast. The sand in the hourglass is speeding up.
Listen, I'm going to need them jokers to be able to empty a dishwasher, make your own sandwich. I'm gonna need y'all to step up a little bit more, because like I got to do all the things, man. I stopped by their mom yesterday to get a couple things, and she was like, "Yeah, they're helping with laundry now." And I was like, "Oh, that's good to know, because I need help with laundry." And she's like, "Oh, well, we're taking the clothes out one at a time and hanging them up, and it takes forever, and it's a crap show." I'm like, "I don't need that." I'm like, "Are they folding the clothes?" "Oh no, they're not doing that." Well, that's what I need them to do, because I hate nothing more. Yeah, I don't mind putting them in the washing and dry, but the folding and the sorting and the side. I'm the dad, bro. Like, I am the dad. I will buy another pack of underwear or socks because I don't feel like, especially the socks. I don't feel like getting all the damn socks together and folding them up and putting them in the drawer. Here's an Amazon, $10. Get some more socks over here tomorrow. I'm that dad.
Hey, honesty, I love it.
Yeah.
Tell me who your podcast is. Who is it for? Who's the demographic?
So it's for parents who are entrepreneurs, bro. Like, the whole point is to help parents be the best parent and entrepreneur they can be. And, we're looking holistically. Oh man, tomorrow's episode is going to be so fire. I just listened to a preview of it today. And I just texted Mario. I said, I think this is our best episode so far. And we asked the question. And so a chapter from my book. So you mentioned it's called The More You Hustle, the Luckier You Get. You can be a successful parentpreneur. Some have regarded it as the realest book about entrepreneurship they ever read. And a slight digression. So my girlfriend, just for my birthday, got me this beautiful leather-bound journal because she heard me saying I'm going to write another book. And I have some amazing things coming down the pike here with my new startup. And so I'm going to be traveling a lot. And when I get my first plane ride to go out of town, I'm going to start writing my new book. Right. But so it was a chapter from my book is what inspired tomorrow's podcast episode. And it's, who's more helpful when you're starting a new business? Is it, friends and family or strangers? So anytime I ask an entrepreneur that question, they got strong opinions one way or another. And in my experience, people just kind of give like what's an immediate response. "Oh, strangers more helpful. Absolutely, blah, blah, blah." I used to think that, but it's simply not true for me. I mean, and I talk about this in my book. I have a more nuanced take, but at the top of tomorrow's episode, bro, is a story that a woman told about how her family tried to jam her up legally and challenging her motherhood because she's an entrepreneur, like challenging it legally. So that was the top of the episode, and crazy. And then just the conversation we go into after that, and just like getting to some of the nuance of it and giving some advice. And just, I think I don't know how many people are going to listen to that episode, but when I listen to it, and this is episode 11, maybe it's 10. Well, 10 and a half, because you got like a little trailer, right? Intro. Mm-hmm. But I was like, this is our best episode so far.
That's awesome. I tell you, it's podcaster to podcaster. I get free therapy from my guests, so thank you.
Welcome.
And I learn from every guest, so thank you. And this will be like in the episode, we'll be in the 150s.
Wow.
I'm on season 3.
That's amazing, man. Most podcasts, they don't. So I was blown away by this stat. The median podcast listens per episode, the median is 29. Think about that. All the work it takes to do a podcast. And the median, 29 people, it's like nobody's listening to most podcasts, which is why most of them don't even make it past like episode 10. And you're at 150?
I'm in the 150s, yeah. 145 comes out tomorrow.
Ooh. So I emailed Seth Godin. You know who Seth Godin is, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a good relationship with Seth. And he supports the work we do in the Parentpreneur Foundation by he has this really remarkable class called the Marketing Seminar, Kimbo Marketing Seminar. And he gives that to the people in my foundation community. It's like a $750 thing, $50, they can take it. Amazing. So I reached out to him and told him about the podcast. And, it took me like weeks to figure out how to make this ask of him. But I figured out how to do it. I can't remember exactly what I said. But he responded favorably. He said, "All right, yeah, I'm kind of not doing so many podcasts anymore." He said, "I'll tell you what, when you get to 50, ping me back and we'll talk." Episode 50.
There we go.
We're at 10 now. Let's go, baby. Seth Godin.
That's right. You got to think big to go far. I learned about that from my friends at Limitless Minds, where I do some work with them. One thing. So one thing I remember about you, James, when I first met is that, and that is probably in your book is, I would like to think is just like, that hustler mentality where got to go get it and don't, and no fear because someone's going to do it. Why not you? And tell me, how often do you think Twinado is old enough or young enough to understand that? Or are you starting to have those conversations about what dad's gone out and done?
Oh yeah, so we're starting to talk a little bit more about it. So funny thing, I was sitting on the patio about a month ago, and the kids came out. So my son came downstairs. Daddy, what are you doing? And I was just listening to like the latest episode of the podcast. So I was like, I'm listening to my podcast. He's like, what's a podcast? So I played it for him, and it was hilarious. Like he was trying to listen to what it was, and poor kid, after like 10 seconds, his eyes are all up in the corner. He was. I posted it on LinkedIn. It's the funniest thing, right? He's like, didn't last long, but to his credit though, after he got done being bored, he said, "I'm going to start a podcast one day, Daddy."
Let's go.
Right. So they're starting to get it a little bit, but I will say, like, my thoughts about a lot of that have evolved. I think hustle culture is toxic. Actually, Mario and I think we're going to do a podcast episode because he has this thought about how to grind gracefully, grind with grace and hustle mindfully is what he says. So that's fine, but we need to spin up an episode and talk about that because I think the toxicity of hustle culture, and I don't do it anymore. Like I'm not into throwing crap against the wall to see what sticks. I am more about just being in alignment and just asking God to tell me what to do. And when I get inspired, I go do that, and kind of more of a focused sniper approach, not the whole shotgun, but sniper thing.
That speaks to me. That's, I know there's a lot of people that believe there's no such thing as balance. I disagree. I think you can have balance.
I don't agree with that at all.
You can't have balance. You can't have balance.
I think work-life balance is an illusion. I think it's a myth that sets people up for negative mental health outcomes. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I just, my opinion is that, or my thought is, as a father, like being as present as I can in the moment. And if it's time to be dad, like be hands-on dad, then work's not going to get attention for me. I don't care who it is. And when I did that early, when I was in corporate for 20 years, I remember my son was 18 months old and I was leaving at 6 before he got up. I was getting home at 6:45. I was getting like 15, 20 minutes a day with him. I'm like, this is not what being a dad's about. And I remember going to my boss and I said, and shout out to Angela Ronick. I said, I'm struggling. Yeah, you guys like what I'm producing at work. It's you guys are winning. And I guess financially I'm winning, but like personally and spiritually, I'm not a good dad. I'm a freaking mess. And she was like, let's figure this out. And we literally, just as simple as this is, we changed my work hours, like to a banker's. I left at 4.
That's so good.
And it made me so from like 4 to 5 driving home, I was hands-on, but from 5 to 7, that was dad time.
That's so good, man. So actually the current episode of the podcast is 4 tips to be an effective parentpreneur. And I wrote an article on NBCnews.com years ago. That was an excerpt from my book. So we talked about some tips about how to be more present with our children. And I love the way you just described that. You're being very intentional about how you carve out your time. I need to be more disciplined in that respect, but I have so many things going on that I'm just not so disciplined. So I love the discipline of what you just described.
No, thank you. I'm a creature of habit. Every morning I'm not like, I don't go to church, but I'm very spiritual. I look at daily scripture every morning. Part of it is the competitor in me. I get the daily streak in the Bible app. I don't want that streak to end.
It's hilarious.
I do a gratitude journal every day. Usually starts with God. Thanks for waking me up.
That's
Give me a chance to do something great today.
That's it, man. That's really good. So I will say, can we come back to the balance thing, if I may?
Yeah, do it.
So I like to think about it as work-life. I went from work-life balance to work-life integration, and now I'm at work-life harmony. When I say harmony, I think of like a symphony. And within a symphony, there are all these different instruments, right? They all get a chance to play eventually, but they're not all playing at the same time. And they don't all get to play the same amount. But when they're done playing, hopefully it's this beautiful harmonious experience. And that's kind of how I think about now the different aspects of my life. It's not that I got to spend the same amount of time with my kids as I am working on a podcast or working on my new startup or working on a new book. It's just every little bit has its own part to play.
Yeah.
And hopefully when it's all done, it's like a beautiful, work of art.
No, I love it. That makes sense. Maybe that's kind of like, maybe you're helping me describe what I'm at. Like, cause there's times I'm not 100% perfect at it. I'd be lying, but we're at, like, lines get blurred. But if I'm intentional about it, that it higher percent of the time, I'm going to be more purposeful in the things I'm doing.
But you can be intentional because you are taking the time to pour into yourself. So your mindset is good and you're aware of what you need to do and you can do it at a high level. So all that stuff is related. And I love how you talk about, the work and family, and people like to try to separate these things. There's no separation. It's all connected. Like if you're not doing well at home, you're probably sucking at work, right?
Yep.
And vice versa. So.
That's how I always tell my kids. This is a dad joke coming. I stole it from someone else. He said the number one reason we all need to be ourselves is because everybody else is already taken. Yeah.
Well, speaking of dad jokes, so that Damon John episode at the end, we did some dad jokes. Yo, like, dude, go listen to that episode. This dude is like a dad joke boss, man. He was killing you with the dad jokes, bro. But there was one that I did not get to squeeze in. I wish I would have, though, which is why did the gingerbread man go to the doctor?
Why?
Because he was feeling crummy. That's good, right? That's a good dad joke.
I like it.
That's a good dad joke.
So if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a 25, 35, 45, I don't care how old I am. I'm a father of color or a mother of color. Tell me how I can learn about your foundation.
Oh, the Parentpreneur Foundation? Mm-hmm. Just go to parentpreneurfoundation.org and join our community. It's free.
Okay. It'll be made in the show notes to make sure people know about that. Mm-hmm. And tell me where people can find your book.
Amazon. The more your hustle, the luckier you get. You can be a successful parentpreneur.
Okay. We will make sure that's linked in the show notes too. One of the questions before we have some fun, if you can think about one area of your dad game where James knows deep down between James, you, and God that we know it's not your best. Because I want dads at home to realize that as much as we're talking about things that are all over the board and positive, but we all have gaps. And you said the word earlier, which is my gap, which is patience. I have to be so self-aware about my patience because sometimes, and my dad, God rest in peace, James, he could drop the best. God damn it, Casey. And it would make me laugh so hard because it was such a powerful GD bomb.
That's so good.
So tell me what is an area of your dad game that you're working on.
That's it, bro. It's patience. It's patience. And it's crazy, bro. Like I feel like I'm simultaneously growing more and less patient.
That actually makes sense to me.
That makes sense to you. Oh, you're screwing up too. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because there's times I'm super patient and there's times like I was literally on a coaching call this morning and we have we have 3 dogs. I joke 2 that I love. One that's just a complete tool. It's a little small Shih Tzu that just drives me nuts. Mm-hmm. And I lose my patience at her, but I'm realizing why. It's a freaking 10-pound dog.
Yeah.
Why do you care?
Yeah. Well, ultimately that's like a mirror that's being held up to your face, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I know that like when I lose my patience, I've learned quickly I have choices. I either can accept that behavior and I'm setting an example, or I learned, and we did talk about this in episode 9, Darren Ballmer, shout out to you, bro. Apologize.
Oh, I apologize all the time. Lord, I'm an apology machine with them kids, man. I do. I apologize. If I realize I was being a jerk, and like, that's not to say sometimes they don't kind of deserve it, right? Because look, when I was growing up, I used to get spanked. They don't get spanked, right? And I only have so much capacity to keep talking to you. When I just told you to do something, I just need you to do it, right? But we're trying to raise the kids a little different.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to, like you talked about adversity. These kids got to go through some stuff because that's the only way they're going to make it through this life thing.
Yep. Exactly. All right. We got patience in common. So if you were to summarize the things we've talked about, which we've talked about a lot of different things, a lot of cool things. where other dads can take from what we've talked about and create ways they can be a better leader of their home or the quarterback of their household in actionable advice. So like 2 or 3 pieces of advice based on our conversation. James, tell me what comes to mind.
I think you got to get in alignment with your purpose. I know for me, once I decided to do that, things really changed around.
How would someone go do that?
I mean, for me, it's all right, God, what am I here to do? Why am I here? It's like Mark Twain said, 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you figure out why. Go figure out why.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds simple, but that's it for me. Mm-hmm. Figure that out. That's a really important thing.
Okay. What else comes to mind based on what we talked about?
You talked about you're not, religious, but you're spiritual. Well, just in this journey in the last couple of years, I kind of reconnected with God, and I don't do anything, care what it is, without God, tell me what to do. I'm over the whole hustle culture. I'm over banging my head against the wall, trying to figure it out on my own. I'm smart enough, this is America. You ain't got to be that smart, but I'm smart enough, but I don't want to do it the hard way anymore. I just want to get inspired. Ask God to send me the people every day in my life that can help me get the things done I need to do, which is a quantum leap forward for me because I always felt like I had to do it all myself. Well, you can't do it all yourself.
Nope.
You can't. It's impossible. You want to go fast, you go, alone. You want to go far, you go together. That's that old African proverb. And just God, send me the people to help me on my journey every day. And you know what? People keep showing up, man. Awesome things keep happening,
Power of vulnerability, my man. We in my coaching practice, we talk about all the time is once people that have that aha moment when you realize, I like metaphors and stories sometimes, but the sports analogy, I'll say, tell me the last time Russell Wilson threw the football to himself. Never done it. Has he ever hiked the ball to himself? No. Can't coach himself. You need a team. Yeah. And your team could be God, it could be your kids, it could be your wife, spouse, girlfriend, whoever it might be. And I think the more that as soon as we realize no matter how successful on paper you are, it doesn't matter. You're only successful for the 1,440 minutes we get today.
Yeah, that's a whole fact. So my old startup, I went to an accelerator. It was just me. I was a solo, non-technical founder building a tech startup, and that was really hard. Now I'm got a new startup I'm building, and we're about to be doing some accelerator stuff. And I got a team of 2 other people now, and I'm super excited about that.
That's cool. Power of vulnerability. We're going to talk about alignment with purpose, he says, and don't be afraid to ask for help, dads. I think that's a good one because I think most males, I'm calling us out. We sometimes let our ego get in the way, and it's a waste. It's a waste of life. Go find people who are smarter than you and ask them for help, and you'll grow.
Yeah, and take care of your mental health because mental health is health.
Ironically, so our episode tomorrow, this is June 1st when it comes out, it'll be June 2nd. It's a guy named Colin Williams. We talk about therapy and how he struggled with anger and found out he had depression.
Well, yeah, I had that too. I was very angry after my divorce, and I realized I was functionally depressed for years. So, yeah.
Yeah. Love it, man. Okay. Now, James, my man, we go into what's called the lightning round. My job is to ask you completely random questions off the top of my head to show I got a little bit of a screw loose. Mm-hmm. Your job is to answer as quick as you can, and my hope is to get a giggle out of you. Mm-hmm. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Didn't even smile. You guys can't see him. I giggled, but he's straight game faced me. Here we go. There it is. There it is. All right. You book a vacation right now. Tell me where you're going.
Someplace in the Caribbean with that turquoise blue water, man.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, free drinks. I'm doing pina coladas with an extra shot of rum, aged rum on top.
There you go. Getting thirsty now. Mm-hmm. If you were to play a professional sport, which sport would you play?
Well, I used to love golf. That's actually how Dale and I met. But I put my clubs up. I got to start over.
Okay. Dale and I have played, for the record.
Yeah,
we played this year.
I can't even. Last time I picked up my clubs, I went out to the range. I couldn't even hit my lob wedge. I said, this is stupid. And I gave my balls to the guy hitting balls next to me. So, you want these? You take these. I was like, I'm having a good day. I'm not about to get frustrated. I'm not doing this right now.
There we go. Tell me the last song played in your phone.
I think I was listening to some Layla Hathaway yesterday because I went to the Layla Hathaway and Robert Glasper concert this past weekend here in Atlanta. Oh, so good.
Okay. Last movie you watched?
Oh, I watched. I started watching Matrix, that last Matrix thing. The last couple of days I've been trying to watch that.
Okay. If there was a book written about your life, tell me the title.
Oh boy, that's a good question because whatever that is going to be the title of my next book. But I can tell you my next book, I haven't decided what the title is, but I can tell you it's going to be a story of redemption, winning, and giving first.
Redemption, winning, and giving first. We'll call that RGD. No, redemption, winning. Oh no, RWG. Okay, well, short term. Yeah. We're gonna call it the short term RWG book.
That might be in the subtitle somewhere, but I don't know what the title of the book is going to be yet. It's yet to be determined, bro.
Okay. Well, we're gonna pretend this book is already out. It's hitting airports. It's blowing up. It's blown up so much. You're putting your podcast on pause because there's a book tour, and now Hollywood has found out about you, and they're gonna make this into a movie. Tell me who's gonna star you.
Well, we can't put the podcast on pause because we're in the HubSpot Podcast Network. We're contractually obligated to release an episode every week. So I can't do that.
Okay.
Who's playing me?
Mm-hmm.
Damn sure ain't Will Smith.
Here we go.
I saw some crap Jada. I just was scrolling. She had her red table. So these two men, we need them. And they need to heal. I'm like, no, Chris don't need to heal. Will need to heal. He's the one doing the smacking. Chris Rock is a way better human than I am. Because I would have whooped Will Smith's ass if he walked up on the stage and smacked me like that. Well, I'm not saying I would have beat his ass, but we would have been scrappy. I might have got my ass beat. But there would have been some scrappy going on. That's what I'm saying. Chris Rock is a way better human than I am. I'll just say that. So who's playing me? Man, that's a great question. It's not Will Smith, though. I don't know what Dale Favors want to do. I don't know. Denzel Washington is playing me, man. Cool ass Denzel, baby.
Can't go wrong with that choice. Cannot go. Denzel is the man. Okay. Last question. Tell me 2 words that describe your kids.
Thoughtful and funny.
There we go. Thoughtful and funny. The lightning round is over. I did get a giggle out of you. We did have some fun. This episode's flown by. It's been so good seeing you. I totally appreciate and just you from afar. And I love that you are learning now that I'm being able to tell you that you had a bigger impact on me than you knew, which I think is a gift we all can give people if we all slow down to go fast. And I love to hear about all the success you're having. I will make sure that your podcast is tagged. I will make sure that your book is tagged. The foundation is tagged. My hope is that people take time to go check out what James is doing because he's impacting and providing opportunity for many parents of color to get opportunities that may not have existed. And I think the world of what you're doing, you're genuine, you're authentic. And every time I've spent time with you, you always show up the same. So thank you for doing that.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, when this episode comes out, you'll be in the 150s. And I want to say thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to everybody who continues to listen every week. And if this episode hit you in the heart, or there's something that James and I talked about, share it with someone else. Get more people to subscribe to this podcast, because the more that you guys keep listening, the more I'm going to be around doing this, which is, again, therapy for all of us. So without further ado, this episode is in the books. James, thanks for your time, brother.
My man, appreciate you.